Liam was walking down the busy city street after finishing a long day at the office. The late evening air was cool, and he was thinking about grabbing a quick coffee before heading home. As he passed by a fancy restaurant, he noticed a woman sitting alone at a table near the window. Her posture was stiff, her hands fidgeting nervously with her glass of water. Something about her looked off, and Liam, curious, slowed his pace. He squinted and realized it was Emma, his CEO. She was dressed elegantly, her hair perfectly styled, but there was a worried look in her eyes that made her appear fragile, almost unlike the confident leader he knew at the office. Inside the restaurant, a man in a suit was speaking loudly, laughing in a way that sounded forced and annoying. Emma's smile looked tight, almost like she was trying not to react to his arrogance. Liam felt a strange tug at his chest. He had always admired Emma from afar. She was intelligent, graceful, and kind, but he never imagined he would see her like this, uncomfortable and trapped in a situation that clearly made her uneasy. Liam debated walking past. It wasn't his business, after all. But he couldn't shake the feeling that she needed help. He hesitated, looking around to see if anyone else had noticed. People were passing by, some glancing at the restaurant, but no one seemed concerned. Liam took a deep breath and walked closer to the window, pretending to check his phone, all the while watching Emma. Her fingers tapped nervously on the table, and her eyes darted around the room as if seeking an escape she couldn't find. The man opposite her was speaking over her, interrupting every attempt she made to say a word. Liam could feel her frustration and discomfort building with each passing second. He clenched his fists slightly, a mix of anger and protectiveness rising inside him. He had always been someone who acted when he saw injustice or unfairness, but this was different. This wasn't about work or a missing deadline. It was about Emma, someone he genuinely cared for, even if she didn't know it. A waiter approached their table, refilling water and asking if they wanted dessert. Emma smiled politely, but Liam could see the tension in her shoulders. She didn't want anything, she was just trying to survive the situation. Liam felt a surge of determination. He couldn't just walk away and pretend he hadn't seen this. He had to do something, even if it was risky. He knew that approaching her would be awkward. What would he say? How could he rescue her without making it worse? The questions ran through his mind, but he felt a strange certainty that he had to try. As he stood there, he noticed Emma glance at the door, almost as if she were imagining herself walking out and escaping. Her expression softened for a brief moment, a mixture of hope and anxiety. Liam's heart thumped in his chest. He realized she needed a lifeline, someone to help her find a way out of this uncomfortable situation. He glanced around, weighing his options. He could wait until the date ended and she left alone, but that might take hours. Every minute she remained there, Liam felt a growing sense of urgency. Finally, he made a decision. He would intervene, but carefully. He didn't want to embarrass her in front of the man or make the situation worse. Liam stepped closer, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. He straightened his posture, took a deep breath, and entered the restaurant. The warm light inside bathed the tables, and the soft hum of conversation contrasted sharply with the tension at Emma's table. Emma looked up as Liam approached, her eyes widening in recognition and surprise. Liam offered a polite smile, trying to convey calm and assurance. "Hi, Emma," he said softly, keeping his voice low so the man wouldn't notice. "I noticed you might need some fresh air. Can I help you?" Emma blinked, a small smile forming despite her discomfort. There was a glimmer of relief in her eyes, as if she had been silently hoping for someone to notice her situation. The man at the table continued to speak loudly, oblivious to the silent exchange taking place. Liam gestured subtly towards the exit, giving her a chance to escape without drawing attention. As Emma hesitated for a brief moment, Liam felt the tension in the room thicken. The audience could almost feel her anxiety, the suspense hanging in the air like a storm about to break. Liam's presence was a beacon of safety, and for the first time that evening, Emma seemed to relax just slightly. She nodded, a quiet agreement that they would leave together. Liam extended his hand politely, and Emma took it. The moment was brief, yet electric, a silent understanding passing between them. As they walked toward the door, Liam glanced back at the man who had caused all this discomfort, ready to face any confrontation if necessary. But for now, their focus was on escaping the tension, stepping into the cool night air, and finding a moment of peace. Liam didn't yet know the depth of Emma's feelings, and Emma didn't yet realize the emotions Liam had carried quietly all along. The night was just beginning, and the story of courage, care, and perhaps something more was about to unfold. Liam led Emma out of the restaurant, the cool night air wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. The city streets were quieter than usual, the hum of distant traffic filling the space between their footsteps. Emma walked a few steps behind him, glancing back nervously, but Liam kept his pace steady, making sure she felt safe. Inside, the man from the date was still speaking loudly, but outside, the tension melted a little. Emma let out a small sigh, a mix of relief and exhaustion. Liam noticed her shoulders relax slightly, and he smiled reassuringly. "Better out here?" he asked softly. Emma nodded, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "Yes, much better. That guy, he was unbearable," she said, trying to laugh but sounding tired. Liam could tell the laughter was a cover for her nerves, but he appreciated her attempt to lighten the moment. They walked together in silence for a while, the streetlights casting long shadows around them. Liam glanced at Emma from the corner of his eye. She looked vulnerable in a way he had never seen at the office, her confident facade completely gone. The realization made his chest tighten. He felt a deep need to protect her, to ensure she felt safe and respected. "Do you want me to take you home?" Liam asked gently. Emma hesitated, glancing down at her feet. I guess that would be nice," she admitted, her voice soft. There was a quiet tension between them, unspoken words hanging in the air. Liam felt it too, the awareness that this moment was more than just a casual walk. As they continued walking, Emma started to talk, her voice low but steady. She described how awkward the date had been, how the man kept interrupting her and making rude jokes. Liam listened, nodding, letting her vent without interrupting. He occasionally offered small comments, but mostly, he let her speak. It was clear she needed someone to hear her, to validate her feelings. A sudden gust of wind blew, causing Emma to shiver slightly. Liam instinctively draped his jacket over her shoulders. She looked up at him, surprised, and their eyes met. There was a moment of silence, charged with an unspoken understanding. Emma smiled faintly, a mixture of gratitude and something Liam couldn't quite read. They reached a quiet park nearby, and Liam suggested they sit on a bench for a moment. Emma agreed, and they both settled onto the worn wooden seat. The night was calm, with only the rustling of leaves and distant city sounds surrounding them. Liam felt a strange calm in her presence, a feeling he hadn't expected but welcomed. He realized that this simple act, helping her escape a terrible date, was starting to change something inside him. Emma glanced at Liam, her eyes soft. "I can't believe you did this, for me," she said quietly, almost in disbelief. Liam shrugged modestly. "I couldn't just let you stay in there, uncomfortable and stressed. You deserved better." She smiled, and for a brief moment, Liam saw the Emma he had always admired, the confident, kind-hearted woman, but layered with vulnerability that made her even more real to him. The connection between them grew, subtle yet undeniable. Liam felt the stirrings of something he hadn't allowed himself to recognize before, an attraction deeper than admiration, something that might become love if nurtured. Just as they were beginning to feel comfortable, the distant sound of the city reminded them both that life outside this moment existed. Liam stood first, offering his hand to help Emma up. She took it, and their fingers brushed briefly, sending a small jolt through both of them. They laughed softly at the accidental touch, a shared moment that felt intimate and electric. "Thank you, Liam," Emma said, her voice sincere. "I don't know what I would have done without you tonight." Liam smiled, feeling warmth spread through him. "Anytime, Emma. You don't have to worry about facing things alone when I'm around." As they continued walking, the air between them was lighter, though the night still held its suspense. Liam knew the journey wasn't over. Emma had hidden depths he had yet to discover, and he had his own feelings to understand. But for now, he had helped her escape a terrible night, and a bond was forming, one that promised tension, emotion, and a connection that could grow into something much deeper. The next day at the office, Liam tried to focus on his work, but his mind kept drifting to the night before. Emma had seemed different, more human, more vulnerable, and that side of her lingered in his thoughts. He caught himself smiling at small, random memories, her nervous laugh, the way her eyes softened when he draped his jacket over her. Emma, on the other hand, was unusually quiet during the morning meetings. She kept stealing glances at Liam, pretending to adjust papers or check her screen whenever he looked her way. There was an unspoken acknowledgement between them, subtle but charged with curiosity and tension. Liam noticed it, feeling a small thrill but also a bit of uncertainty. He wondered if she felt the same strange connection he did. During lunch, Liam found Emma alone in the break room, sipping coffee and looking out the window. He approached cautiously, not wanting to disturb her. "Hey, Emma," he said softly. She looked up, surprised, then smiled. It wasn't the professional smile she wore at meetings, but something gentler, warmer. "Hi, Liam," she replied, her voice almost shy. They talked quietly, about trivial things at first, the weather, small office news, but the conversation soon drifted toward personal matters. Emma mentioned how stressful the previous night had been and how grateful she was for his help. Liam listened intently, responding with empathy and subtle humor to ease her tension. Their dialogue was light, yet each word carried weight, and both felt the bond between them growing. As they walked back to their desks, a small group of co-workers passed by, whispering and casting curious looks at them. Liam could feel the unspoken gossip, but he ignored it, focusing instead on Emma's smile, which had a shy, almost secretive quality. He realized that despite her status as CEO, she appreciated simple acts of kindness, and that realization made his admiration deepen further. Later in the afternoon, a minor crisis arose. A project deadline had been unexpectedly moved up, and Emma needed assistance. Liam offered to help immediately, working closely with her in a way that blurred the usual professional boundaries. They laughed at small mistakes, shared ideas freely, and the atmosphere was light yet intimate. The shared time allowed them to understand each other more deeply, revealing mutual respect and perhaps the beginning of affection. Throughout the day, Liam noticed subtle gestures from Emma. A lingering glance, a gentle touch on the arm when she thanked him, small smiles that seemed meant only for him. Each action added to the tension and curiosity, hinting that her feelings might run deeper than simple gratitude. Liam, however, remained unaware of the full extent of her emotions, focusing instead on his own growing admiration. By evening, the office was quiet, and Liam and Emma were packing up. The connection from the night before and the shared moments at work created a sense of anticipation for both. They exchanged a glance that held more than words could convey, a silent promise of continued closeness. As Liam walked away, he felt his heart beat a little faster, aware that something significant had begun, though he didn't yet know how it would unfold. The audience could sense the subtle tension, the sparks of attraction, and the suspense of whether either would confess their feelings. It was a delicate, emotional dance, with each small interaction building toward something larger. Liam and Emma were now connected by more than professional ties, and the story was poised to explore the emotional and moral layers of their growing relationship in the next part. A few days later, the office was buzzing with preparations for an important client meeting. Liam and Emma were working side by side, going over the presentation slides and coordinating details. Their teamwork was seamless, yet the unspoken tension between them remained, noticeable to anyone who watched closely. Small smiles, exchanged glances, and subtle gestures hinted at a growing bond, though neither had openly acknowledged their feelings. During a brief break, Emma began talking about someone she admired outside of work, a colleague from a previous project who had helped her in a difficult situation. Liam listened, his heart tightening slightly as he assumed she was speaking about someone else romantically. He tried to hide his feelings behind a casual smile, but the pang of jealousy was unmistakable. Emma noticed Liam's slight change in demeanor but didn't think much of it, assuming he was focused on work. Meanwhile, gossip began circulating subtly among their co-workers. A few whispered about the obvious chemistry between Liam and Emma, making Liam even more self-conscious. He began overthinking every interaction, fearing he might ruin the natural connection they had built. The tension escalated when Emma invited Liam to stay late and help finalize the presentation. They worked in the quiet office, the soft hum of computers and the occasional typing the only sounds. Liam was attentive, careful to offer help without overstepping. Emma laughed at his occasional jokes, her eyes sparkling in the dim light. Yet, Liam couldn't shake the thought that she might have someone else in mind. A minor misunderstanding occurred when Emma received a message on her phone. Liam glimpsed a snippet of it mentioning her admiration for a person he assumed was a romantic interest. He looked down, trying to mask his disappointment, but the hurt was evident in his expression. Emma noticed the change and asked if he was okay. Liam smiled weakly and nodded, not wanting to ruin the moment. She didn't press further, but a small tension lingered between them. Despite the misunderstanding, they continued to work closely, the shared task keeping the atmosphere professional yet intimate. Liam found himself stealing glances at Emma, noting the way her hair fell over her shoulders and how she bit her lip when concentrating. Emma, unaware of Liam's internal struggle, felt comforted by his presence, appreciating his help and gentle encouragement. By the end of the evening, the presentation was ready, and the office lights dimmed. Liam and Emma stood together, a sense of accomplishment filling the space between them. The misunderstanding remained unresolved, adding a layer of suspense and emotional complexity to their relationship. As they packed up to leave, Liam walked Emma to the elevator. Their hands brushed briefly, a fleeting touch that sparked unspoken emotions. Emma smiled softly, grateful for his support, and Liam returned the smile, though his mind was clouded with questions about her feelings. The audience could sense the tension and anticipation, eager to see whether Liam would uncover Emma's true emotions and how their bond would develop. The evening ended with both of them feeling a mixture of hope, confusion, and longing, setting the stage for the emotional climax and confession in the upcoming parts. A week later, a sudden work crisis hit the office. A major client had changed their requirements at the last minute, and the team was scrambling to adjust the presentation. Emma looked stressed, her usual calm demeanor faltering under the pressure. Liam noticed immediately and stepped in without hesitation, offering to handle some of the urgent tasks. They stayed late, working together to reorganize slides, verify data, and practice their pitch. The office was quiet except for the sound of typing and occasional sighs. Liam admired Emma's determination, her ability to stay composed even when things seemed chaotic. He realized he had never seen her so vulnerable and human, and it stirred a protective feeling within him. During the process, Emma paused and looked at Liam, a hint of warmth in her eyes. "I don't know what I would do without you, Liam," she said softly. He smiled, brushing off the comment with a casual, "You'd manage, but I'm happy to help." But the words, though simple, lingered between them. Liam felt a flutter in his chest, recognizing that Emma appreciated him not just for his help, but for the person he was. Small gestures, like her leaning slightly closer to show him a chart or briefly touching his arm in thanks, created a subtle, emotional intimacy that neither could ignore. Later, Emma mentioned how difficult the previous week had been, both personally and professionally, and Liam listened with patience and understanding. He offered advice, encouragement, and sometimes just silent support, letting her know she wasn't alone. Their conversation drifted from work to small personal stories, funny incidents, favorite books, childhood memories. Each exchange brought them closer, deepening their connection. A moment of tension arose when the team leader stopped by to check on progress. Liam and Emma exchanged quick, knowing glances, subtly communicating their understanding without words. The shared confidence in each other strengthened their bond, while the stress of the crisis added an emotional weight that made their connection feel even more significant. As the night grew later, the crisis resolved and the office lights dimmed, Emma looked at Liam with a serious yet tender expression. "You've been amazing, Liam. More than I could have ever expected," she whispered. There was a softness in her voice that hinted at feelings she hadn't openly expressed before. Liam, caught up in the intensity of the night and the emotional closeness they shared, felt a surge of realization. His feelings for Emma were no longer just admiration or concern, they were deeper, more personal. Yet, he still didn't fully understand the depth of her affection for him. They left the office together, walking under the quiet city lights. The cool night air, combined with the adrenaline from the day, made the world feel still and intimate. Their hands brushed, a gentle and accidental touch that sent a jolt through both of them. Emma smiled, a soft, meaningful smile, and Liam returned it, feeling a warmth he couldn't quite describe. The audience could feel the suspense building. The emotional climax was near. Emma's affection for Liam was becoming clearer, and Liam was beginning to realize his own feelings. The tension was palpable, hinting that the confession and resolution were just around the corner. The story was poised for the final, heartwarming part where emotions, courage, and moral growth would culminate in a meaningful revelation. The next morning, the office was unusually quiet, and Liam found himself thinking about the night before. The tension, the subtle touches, and the shared moments had left an impression that he couldn't ignore. He wondered if Emma felt the same way he did, though he tried not to overthink it. As he entered the office, he noticed Emma standing by the window, looking out with a thoughtful expression. She turned when she saw him, and for a moment, neither spoke. The room felt still, almost holding its breath. Finally, Emma smiled softly and gestured for him to join her. "Liam," she began, her voice gentle but steady, "I need to tell you something." Liam's heart quickened, a mix of anticipation and nervousness filling him. He nodded, encouraging her to continue. Emma took a deep breath. "I've been feeling something for you, something more than just respect or gratitude. I've tried to ignore it, but I can't anymore. I like you, Liam. I've liked you for a long time, even before that terrible date." Her eyes searched his, vulnerable yet hopeful, waiting for a response. Liam felt a rush of emotions, relief, joy, and a warmth that spread through his chest. He had admired Emma, cared for her, and now realized he felt the same deep affection. A smile broke across his face as he stepped closer. "Emma, I like you too. I have for a while, but I didn't know how to tell you." The tension between them melted away, replaced by a shared sense of happiness and relief. They laughed softly, a sound full of genuine joy, and for the first time, the office felt like a space where emotions could be openly expressed without fear. Emma reached out, taking Liam's hand in hers. It was a simple gesture, yet it carried the weight of all the unspoken feelings, the support, and the shared experiences they had gone through. Liam squeezed her hand gently, knowing that this connection was something rare and precious. They spent the morning talking quietly, sharing small smiles and gentle jokes, savoring the moment of honesty and emotional intimacy. The story had reached its emotional peak, showing that courage, kindness, and attention to the people around you could lead to unexpected, heartwarming outcomes. Later, as they left the office together, the city outside seemed brighter, the air lighter. They walked side by side, their hands occasionally brushing, a tender reminder of their new bond. The audience could feel the satisfaction of the journey, the suspense, the emotional growth, and the moral of the story all coming together in a heartwarming resolution. In the end, Liam and Emma's story wasn't just about love, it was about noticing when someone needed help, having the courage to act, and embracing the unexpected connections that life offers. The narrative closed with a sense of hope and warmth, leaving viewers inspired by the power of kindness, empathy, and the courage to follow one's heart.